Welcome to Storytime. My name is Cerise Fairfax, and I am doing Storytime today from the Dominican Republic. This is going to be a Sankey Panky series. Sankey Panky is what we call men in the Dominican Republic that try to take advantage of foreigner women and even Dominican women. But without any further ado, let's get into today's story. There's a guy, we will call him Juan. He is a person who was just relaxing, chilling in his life, and a foreigner woman from France moved into his neighborhood in Cabarete. Cabarete is a beach town on the north coast of the Dominican Republic, and when she moved in, she's a single woman. She's been in the Dominican Republic for almost a decade, but she never really got emotionally involved in any relationships with many men in the decade. She got burned when she first came here and learned her lesson, so she decided that she would just remain single. But that all changed when she met Juan. You see, she didn't think that Juan was going to try to manipulate her or use her or try to what we call here Sankey Panky her. A Sankey Panky is a guy that's very much like a gigolo, and he will try to use a woman for money, try to get material things from her, whether it's shoes, clothing, passports, trips, condos, houses, motorcycle, cars, or even a visa to go to another country, right? So she didn't think he would be a Sankey Panky. Because he owned his own business, she would go to his own business every day. He owned what we call here a cafe, kind of like a place where you can go get coffee in the morning and sandwiches. So she would go get sandwiches every morning from him, and he always would put an extra piece of cheese and an extra piece of ham, and he would talk to her a little bit longer. And so one day he said to her, I want to introduce you to the kids that I teach baseball to. And she was like, "Oh, you teach baseball?" And he's like, "Yeah." He's like, "I'm a baseball coach over in the field. And, I really like to teach children because I was almost a baseball player myself." And she said, "Well, what happened? Why didn't you become a baseball player?" And he said, "Oh, he was illiterate and he didn't want to go to school and he got into some problems. And part of being a professional baseball player was they wanted him to go to school and they also wanted him to stop getting into trouble." He didn't listen, but he told her that it was something he regretted very, very much, immensely, and she could see that he did regret it. But she saw also that he was trying to get back to the community and he had his own business, so she was quite impressed. Well, she went to the game, to the stadium, well, to the ball field, and she saw that he was coaching baseball, and she was so impressed by him, his body, the way he spoke, the way he treated her. She felt like this is a man that she could really admire and love. And so 2 weeks into them talking and getting along, they ended up becoming intimate. And although she didn't really like the intimacy, she felt to herself that it's not about the intimacy. It is really about the connection. So she started to enjoy his company a lot more. He would cook for her, he would sleep at her house every night, and she didn't feel so lonely. She felt like she had company and somebody that she respected, and she had her own business and he was running his own business, and she felt like, wow, this feels great. But then she got a contract in Puerto Plata. Puerto Plata is about maybe 50 minutes from Cabarete. So she decided that, she was going to ask him if he knew anyone that could take her. And he said to her, he's like, "You know what? I don't have a moto, but my uncle has a motorcycle. So if you pay my uncle 500 pesos, which is $10 for the day, I can ask him for the motorcycle and we'll go on the motorcycle to Puerto Plata. I don't mind taking you." And she said, "Well, what are you going to do with your cafe?" He said, I can close it down for the hours that we're gone, just as long as we go during the hours that it's not busy." And she thought, all right, let's do it. That's pretty amazing. So they did that, and they went back and forth to Puerto Plata. Now, her contract was for a month. She had to go every day. After 3 weeks, he said to her, you know, my love, I think it's probably good that you think about getting your own pasola, which is like a scooter. Or maybe get yourself a motorcycle that you can ride on your own. And she was like, that's a good idea. I'm going to look into that. And he said, I'm going to take you where you can buy one. So he took her to a motorcycle shop, and they looked around, and she saw the perfect pasola for her. It's a scooter. And she was like, this is amazing. And he said, okay, but you should really think about the long haul, because if I'm going to be driving you back and forth for now until you learn how to ride it, then maybe you should get a motorcycle, because I feel more comfortable riding a motorcycle with you. And not only that, a motorcycle is more durable. And not only that, you may feel more comfortable with a motorcycle in the future. And she thought, yeah, I agree with that. So not only did they buy a motorcycle, they upgraded to a really nice motorcycle. Now, unbeknownst to her, this motorcycle had a lot of boom, a lot of oomph, way too much power for the average person to ride, but she didn't know that. And he got one. It was $1,000, $1,300, and they were able to make it in 3 payments. So she thought it was a win-win situation. It'll be paid off in 3 months. Within 3 months, she would know how to ride it, and she could feel independent. And not only that, when she wasn't going back and forth and using it herself, her boyfriend could use it when he was picking up supplies for his cafe. She thought, oh my gosh, this is like a really good match made in heaven. So, fast forward. It was about 2 weeks later when he disappeared for the weekend. Oh, at first she was worried. She thought maybe he crashed on the motorcycle because it was raining outside. He had to take the motorcycle that day to go get some supplies. And she was messaging him and messaging him. No answer. It became the evening time, and he still didn't respond. So now she was angry, because she had that little intuition knocking inside of her body that, yeah, this dude is up to something. So then, the next day came, Saturday. She didn't hear from him at all. The whole entire Saturday. She was messaging him, voice noting him, and his phone was not on. Sunday at around 2 p.m., he arrived, and he knocked on her door because he didn't have a key. And she answered it, and she said, what do you want? Give me my keys to the motorcycle. And he said, no, amor, my phone wasn't working. You know, I was all the way in Gaspar Hernandez. My dad was in the hospital. And she thought, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. And he said, and the phone cracked. And he showed her his cell phone, and it had a crack on the cover. And he said, look, I can't answer it, and I can't do any dialing. And that was true. You couldn't really answer it or do any dialing. She didn't know at that point that he cracked it purposely. But I don't want to do a spoiler alert, so let's get more into the story. He said to her, you know, he needs a new cell phone, but he will work and he will get it himself. And she said, don't worry. Your dad is sick. I'm pretty sure your dad needs to get a hold of you. Let's go to the Altice cellular phone store on Monday, which was the next day. They went, and she got him a lower budget phone. She bought him one for $250. It was refurbished, but she wasn't thinking about getting him one that was more expensive anyway, because they just met, really, and she's already paying for this motorcycle. And at the same time, he didn't need an expensive cell phone. He just needed a working cell phone. He didn't like it very much, and he told her that. And he said, oh, my other cell phone was better. And she was like, well, your other cell phone is broke. We either fix it for $80 and you still have the same cell phone, or we get this one for you. What do you want? Now, he's thinking to himself, well, might as well get a new cell phone, right? Might as well. So he didn't think that getting the old one fixed, even though it was better, would have been better for him. But no, he just wanted something new. So they got the new cell phone. Now, there's a huge thing about this story that you need to know. He is illiterate. He can't read. So remember, he couldn't read. That's one reason why he couldn't go to the pro baseball, right? So she had to switch over all the information from his cell phone onto his new cell phone. As she was switching over the information, she was seeing all these messages from this one number. And this one number was Mi Amor. That was the name. Mi Amor in English means my love. And she said, who is this number, Mi Amor? And he said, oh, it's my niece. It's my niece. And she's like, oh, you didn't tell me you had a brother or a sister? And he said, I do, with my dad. He's like, with my dad being sick, we've been talking back and forth, keeping in touch. She's letting me know everything. And the girlfriend said, oh, okay. Now, the girlfriend didn't understand a lot of Spanish. She could speak enough to get by. But those messages, she wasn't even about to listen to, because she didn't want her insecurity to get the best of her. And truth be told, there's no way that she would ever be able to understand those messages. So now that was it. Fast forward a month later, he disappears again. She's not able to contact him for the weekend again. Now she is livid. He gets home on Sunday and he says to her that he had an accident and the police took the motorcycle and he was in jail for the whole entire weekend. She didn't believe it, but somehow he made her believe it. Somehow within her, she thought she's just being insecure. Yes. So he said to her, come on, I want to take you to Gaspar Hernandez. I want us to sit with my dad. I want to visit my dad because I haven't been able to see him. I've been so busy with you and so busy with the cafe. I need to see how my dad is doing. So they get up to Gaspar Hernandez, and the next door neighbor of the dad needed help. So the boyfriend Juan went over to help the next door neighbor. Now, Juan didn't think that his girlfriend was smart enough to be able to use the translator in her phone. And she did. She spoke to the dad through the translator. Google Translator has a feature where you can speak into it and it will speak back to you in Spanish. So she spoke to it in English and it spoke back in Spanish, and the father understood exactly what her question was. And the girlfriend asked, how are you doing? I know you were in the hospital. Are you fine now? And the father got back confused, and the father said, no, I was not in the hospital. I'm very healthy. I may look like I'm an old man. I may seem like I am feeble, but I'm a very healthy man, and I've never been in the hospital. And she said, oh, okay. All right. Thank you very much. And that was it. So now, when Juan gets back into the house, the father says to Juan, I was never in the hospital. Why would you say this? Did someone say this to this gringa? I was in the hospital? Who was in the hospital? Juan just told his dad, be quiet. Now, the girlfriend knew enough Spanish to be able to decipher what was going on. She heard hospital and she heard, oh, no, it's okay, And so she knew that Juan was just sweeping it under the rug, and she couldn't understand much after that, but she knew that she was set up. So she knew he was not at his dad's house the weekend he said he was. So the second weekend that he had disappeared, she knew he was not in the police station. She was putting two and two together. She was waiting for her opportunity to prove his cheating ways. And she prayed and she waited. Then it was very shortly after, maybe about a week and a half, Juan and her, they decided that they were going to go to get some takeout. Now, he thought, maybe his mom would like some takeout. His mom lived very close, so he went over to his mom's house to ask her. She didn't have a cell phone, and he went over to his mom's house to ask her if she would like some takeout. In the meantime, he forgot his cell phone on the mantle in the living room. The girlfriend seen it. She ran over to it right away. She opened it up because, of course, she had the code to it. She never checked it before because she didn't want to. She didn't want to put her brain there, but she checked it right then, and right away she saw some messages from Mi Amor. She forwarded all the voice notes because, remember, they were voice notes. She couldn't understand them very much. She tried to at first, but she couldn't understand anything. So she forwarded them all to her WhatsApp, and then she deleted the 4 words from his cell phone, put his cell phone back on the mantle, and she had all of the voice notes. Oh, there were many of them in her cell phone. He showed back up. He ran into the door, bolted into the door, and he went to the living room and he said, "Donde mi celular? Where's my cellular?" And she said, "I don't know. No sé. I don't know where your cell phone is." And he grabbed his cell phone and he looked at it and he looked at her. And she was playing it off. Her heart was beating so quickly. Her head was about to explode. She wanted to throw everything in her path at him, but she couldn't yet because she couldn't prove yet what was on the voice notes, although she knew. So they went to the restaurant together. Now, when they went to the restaurant, he told her that he was going to go put some gas in the motorcycle. And he did. He left. Now, at this restaurant, she knew the owner very well. The owner speaks English and also Spanish. And this owner does not like it when a sankey-panky tries to take advantage of a foreigner. This owner has also told this woman before, be careful. So this woman handed her phone to the owner of the restaurant and said, "Can you translate these for me?" The owner translated. And wow, these messages were messages of love and also very incriminating. Some of the messages said, "I need some money. Can you get some money from that gringa?" Gringa means foreigner, female foreigner. "Can you get some money from that gringa? I need you to top up my cell phone." Or, "I need some food." Or, "I need some money. I need to go here. Can you come pick me up? I need to come here. I need to go there. And, oh, I can't wait for us to go to the cabana." The cabana is like a hotel that you can go to for an hour or two and spend some time. Well, one of the messages said, "Are we going to spend the whole weekend together in the cabana?" And back and forth. And they were going back and forth in these messages. And yes, they were incriminating. Well, what did this woman do? She decided that she was going to send the motorcycle back because she still didn't learn how to ride it. She was still relying on him to ride her everywhere. And so she contacted the motorcycle shop and she said, "Hey, how can I return the motorcycle?" And they told her that it was best that she sold it because if she gave it back to the store, then it would go against the co-signer's credit. The co-signer was her good friend, and she didn't want to do that. So what she did was she got the keys to the motorcycle when he was sleeping, and she put the motorcycle inside her other friend's garage. And when he woke up to get his keys and go get on the motorcycle, he couldn't find his keys. And she said, "I took the keys and I hid your motorcycle. If you want the motorcycle, then you're going to have to pay for the payments." Now, he didn't like it very much, but he was in love with his brand new fast motorcycle. And truth be told, there was only one more payment to be made anyway. And he told her, "Okay." She said, "That's great. I want you to get all of your stuff that is in my apartment and get out of my apartment now and do not come back. And when you come up with the last payment, I will give you the motorcycle. And that was it. But 3 months later, she was walking down the street. She was on her way to get a different motoconcho. Motoconcho is motorcycle taxi. And he was passing by. And he pulled over and he said, Amor. And she said, hello. And he said, how are you? And she said, oh, I'm good. And she looked at the bike and it was falling apart. And he said, oh, I need your help. You know, the bike is not doing too good. He told her that he lent it out to his friend. His friend got into an accident with it, and now it's falling apart. Is there any way that she can lend him the money? And she told him no. The motorcycle is not hers. It's not her responsibility. It's his responsibility, and that's it. At the end of the day, he learned his lesson that he cannot take from her. And also at the end of the day, she felt great that she learned her lesson without spending too much money in the meantime.